Divine shift revealed. 144,000 chosen ones experience prophetic transformation on October 13th to 14th. In the quaint English village of St. Oswald, the air thickened with a divine electricity as the fabled date of October 13th to 14th approached. Rumors swept through the cobblestone streets like whispers of angels. A change is coming, one to shift our very souls, they said, as if the heavens were preparing to unveil a grand tapestry of faith and purpose. Mary, a devoted woman with a heart ablaze for Jesus, sensed something monumental brewing in the ethereal silence of the surrounding hills. She felt the warm tug of Saint Michael, their beloved patron saint, guiding her steps as she stumbled upon a chilling prophecy detailing a divine shift about to wash over their community. Shadows danced around her as she read, vibrant townsfolk whispering of 144,000 chosen ones, all embarking on a miraculous journey together. Eyes bright with fervor, Mary rushed to the church, eager to rally her fellow parishioners for an uninterrupted all-night vigil. Each parishioner's face glowed with a blend of fear and awe as they joined, lighting candles and praying fervently for guidance and protection. But as for Mary's husband, David, the whole notion was nonsense, a clever tale spun by those lost in dreamy delusions. Must you always indulge in this superstition? He scoffed, his voice threaded with scientific skepticism. Mary's heart ached with the divide between them. She pleaded for his understanding, yet he merely waved her away, rooted in doubt. Faith is for the weak, Mary. The real world holds no such fantasies. He chuckled, his laughter echoing through their home. As the village weathered strange occurrences leading up to that fateful night, whispers spread like wildfire. Cows wandered off, clocks stalled, and shadows seemed to dance around corners, igniting both fear and curiosity. Mary held tightly to hope, clinging to her faith as she prepared for the vigil, engulfed in a world of divine mystery. But David had a plan of his own. A meeting, he declared, to debunk Mary's claims, to unravel the tightly wound threads of superstition from the grasp of vulnerable minds. Yet, as the townsfolk gathered in the quaint hall, the air shifted, charged with something otherworldly. Gasps rang out as a little child, once stricken with despair, miraculously stood healed before their eyes. Gasps of disbelief echoed. The village erupted in wonder. David's skepticism faltered, and a swift crack formed in his steadfast beliefs. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. As midnight's embrace cloaked the village, something profound swept through the barriers of the mundane. A tangible, divine presence enveloped the community. Eyes widened, hearts raced, and a hymn rose into the night sky. The 144,000 chosen began to emerge, an assembly illuminated by grace, gathered to transform lives. Mary's spirit soared. Hope cascaded around her as David wrestled, curiosity igniting a flickering flame of faith that threatened to engulf his steadfast rationalism. In that divine moment, as the villagers embraced the dawn of a profound unveiling, Mary felt an unparalleled connection, a rosy new beginning intertwined with her husband's mending doubt. What awaited them in this cascade of miracles? What deeper truths would unravel under the watchful gaze of Saint Michael? Love, faith, and divine mystery wove together tightly, leaving them on the very cusp of an extraordinary revelation. As the first light of dawn broke, spilling warmth across the village of St. Oswald, a new energy pulsed through the hearts of its inhabitants. Mary awoke with renewed vigor. The events of the night before lingered fresh in her mind, like the sweet scent of blooming flowers in spring. She felt deeply changed, as if purpose now pulsed within her veins. The village square buzzed with quiet excitement, villagers gathering to share stories of the miraculous events they had witnessed. Mary, eyes shimmering with possibility, joined the throng. "Did you see the child?" she exclaimed, her voice a melody of hope. "He was healed. I felt St. Michael's touch among us." Whispers of affirmation rippled through the crowd, igniting a fire of faith that began to bind them together. Even David, standing at the periphery, felt the warmth of something inexplicable. It unsettled him, yet drew him closer to Mary. Her fervent belief, so unwavering, stirred an insatiable curiosity within his heart. What if there is truth in this? He pondered, the skepticism within him softening. A small, reluctant flame flickered against the backdrop of doubt. He turned toward his wife, whose joy seemed unshakable. "Tell me, Mary, what now?" "There is a reckoning," she replied softly, her gaze reflecting divine assurance. "We must gather again tonight, for the vigil is not yet over. The chosen ones may still have more to reveal." As the sun climbed higher, Mary set out to spread the word. Fellow villagers joined in, their hearts knitted together in a shared mission. The church filled quickly with parishioners eager for understanding, laughter mingling with the sound of whispered prayers. As night deepened, Mary sensed an urgency in the air. The atmosphere crackled with expectancy, and she felt blessed by an inviting warmth. When the hour drew near, Mary encouraged the assembly to open their hearts wide, ready for divine encounters. They lingered in prayer, voices rising together, an ocean of faith flowing into the heavens. In the corners of the church, candlelight flickered, casting gentle shadows that danced as if alive with spirit. And then it happened, a hush fell over the gathering. A figure emerged, bathed in an ethereal glow, a radiance that illuminated the many hues of faith resting upon each soul present. He spoke with a voice like a gentle breeze, filled with compassion, beckoning them to listen. "I bring a message of unity," the figure proclaimed, his voice resonating deep within. "A call for love, abundant and unwavering, which is the essence of all creation. Each of you, imbued with divine spark, carries a purpose in this unfolding." Tears began to flow among the townsfolk, hearts swelling with the weight of his words. David, standing now at Mary's side, felt tears prickling his own eyes. This was more than he had bargained for. This was truth unveiled. For the first time, his heart yearned to understand what this shift meant for himself, for Mary, and for their village. "Awake, dear ones," the figure continued, "for tonight marks the beginning of your journey to become emissaries of love. The 144,000 will rise across the lands. Go forth in faith, and the kingdom of heaven shall be manifested through you." A groan of realization rippled through the audience as they grappled with the profoundness of their calling. David felt the grip of his disbelief shatter, the prison of skepticism breaking free like dawn breaking a long night. As the figure's light enveloped them, an overwhelming sense of peace washed over the gathered crowd. They were no longer mere spectators in a tale of wonder. They were now participants in a great divine plan unfolding through faith and love. But amid the waves of renewal, an unanswered question drifted through Mary's heart. What burden shall we carry as we step into our destiny? As hope transformed the air around them, the congregation awaited the next move in their divine journey, one ripe with mystery and holy purpose. What awaited them in this newfound calling? What sacrifices would they need to make? Would love alone be enough to carry them through? The answers sparkled just out of reach, urging them forward into the unknown. The night deepened, and within the sacred walls of St. Oswald's church, something stirred in the air, a palpable sense of anticipation and wonder. Mary stood at the center of the congregation, her heart a whirlwind of emotions. She could feel it tangibly. The merging of fear and excitement danced within her soul like flickering candlelight. Even as the ethereal figure faded, His essence lingered, a lingering touch of divine love wrapping around each member of the assembly. A hush fell again. Eyes filled with tears met eyes filled with hope, and in that moment, every soul seemed to breathe and sink. David, still grappling with his newfound faith, turned towards Mary. What if we were to answer this call? He breathed, voice trembling with earnestness. What if our lives changed forever? What lies ahead for us? Mary smiled, a serene glow adorning her face. The beautiful unknown, dear husband, this is our time to explore the depths of our purpose. We will no longer hide in shadows, but walk bravely into the light. Those words, like a balm to aching hearts, moved through the crowd. They began murmuring amongst each other, voices rising and blending into a hum of agreement. The promise of unity beckoned. The call to love danced enticingly upon their hearts. Tonight is just the beginning. A voice rose from the rear of the church. It was Ruth, a wise woman whose decades of experience infused her words with authority. St. Michael's touch was but a glimpse of true power. We must now nurture this gift bestowed upon us. Whispers of encouragement flowed, and David felt the grip of fear loosen its hold on him. As he watched their community, faces brightened with understanding and purpose, he found himself drawn into the growing tide of belief. There was something powerful in the moment, a sense of collective awakening that reverberated around them. A child's laughter echoed through the church, cutting through the seriousness of the moment. A little girl, Anya, came running down the aisle. With eyes wide and innocent, she raised her arms toward the heavens and called, "I feel it. I feel the love." Laughter erupted, shaking the heaviness. Mary knelt, gathering Anya into a warm embrace. "Yes, dear heart, that love is for us all. Are we really chosen, then?" Anya asked, her face aglow with wonder. Mary caught David's gaze across the room, the gravity of that question heavy yet vibrant. "Chosen to be the light," he whispered, still unsure but finding peace in the uncertainty. They began to hold one another's hands in a sprawling circle, inspired by the spirit of togetherness. As they joined together, a tapestry of fingers and hearts intertwined, Mary spoke aloud. "Let us commit ourselves to this divine path. Let us love one another as he loves us." The church reverberated with an echo of amen. And yes, as hearts aligned in the call to serve. Yet, beneath that bubbling excitement, a shadow lurked in Mary's heart. She wondered what challenges lie ahead. What must we relinquish to embrace our calling fully? Outside, the wind picked up, stirring the leaves in a divine dance, while the stars shimmered down, as if promising to guide them. She could sense a threshold being crossed, a sacred division between what was known and what awaited them. The congregation stayed rooted in that moment, poised on the edges of change, filled with grace, yet unsure of the road forward. Little did they know, the trials they would face required more than faith. It would demand vibrant commitment and a willingness to embrace the unknown. What deeper meaning hid behind the call to embrace love? And how would they, the 144,000, rise into their true purpose? The answers beckoned from beyond, like a whisper on the wind. As the circle tightened, a stillness enveloped Street Oswald's church, thick like honey. Mary sensed the tremor of unity throbbing in their clasped hands, knitting hearts and spirits together in some divine choreography only heaven could orchestrate. "Let us pray," she offered, her voice steady yet imbued with reverence. The congregation bowed their heads, the weight of their hopes resting softly on the atmosphere. Each breath became a silent communion, drawing in divine air and exhaling a collective yearning for purpose. "We gather as one," Mary continued, ready to illuminate the world with the love bestowed upon us. Just then, a flicker of light burst through a window, casting a brilliant beam onto the altar. The moment seemed to throb with sacred energy. Eyes darted toward the source. Was it a sign? A message? David felt a tremor run through his body, a rush of something electrifying and holy. Ruth, still standing with authority, lifted her gaze, her countenance alive with fervor. What you feel, dear ones, is the power of our shared spirit. We are on the brink of a transformation. Those words echoed around the room like the tolling of a bell, reverberating into the deepest corners of their hearts. One by one, courage ignited within them. They could not simply tread softly anymore. They were meant to be bold. Tonight, let us promise to step into our calling fully, Ruth urged. Let us take the first leap of faith. A chorus of yes rose, threading through the room like a tapestry of vibrant faith. The energy swelled. It was as if chains were shattering and wings were unfurling. Laughter mixed with tears. Hope glimmered in the eyes of the believers. David, let us share our story, Mary suggested, her voice ringing clear with purpose. David looked around, finding encouragement in the sincere smiles of their community. He stepped forward, his heart pounding, but steadiness in his gaze. We have each walked our struggles, haven't we? He began, his voice growing in strength as he shared their journey, the challenges they faced, the seeds of doubt that once flowered in their hearts. But what I've learned is that our trials only serve as the birthplace for testimony. We are not alone. Anya, still clutched in Mary S.'s arms, piped up, "You mean we're all together in this? Forever?" "Absolutely," David confirmed, lifting the spirits around him. "We are the architects of hope. Every challenge faced together brings us closer to the beautiful future God has planned." Around them, heads nodded and hands gripped each other tighter. The shadow of doubt left the hearts of many, replaced with the promise of unity. Yet in the depth of Mary S.'s heart, questions stirred again. Was it really that simple? How would they face the difficulties ahead, temptations, fears, and unseen obstacles that waited just beyond the horizon? What would happen when doubt crept back, seeking to snuff out their light? As if in response, an unexpected gust ruffled the church's heavy drapery, creating a symphony of sound that swept through the congregation, a reminder of the Spirit's presence, ever moving, always guiding. Embrace the journey ahead, Ruth urged again, her voice brimming with certainty. We are destined for more. The congregation erupted with zeal, heartbeats synchronizing in a rhythm of faith they had never known. Yet, questions still loomed like clouds above a mystery yet to be unveiled. What did their prophetic transformation truly entail? What sacrifices would they need to make to turn their dreams into reality? With hearts on fire, they stood ready, poised at the edge of the divine unknown. The air shimmered with expectancy, thick with the presence of something beyond comprehension. As David concluded, an almost palpable silence fell, wrapping the church in sacred mystery. Everyone held their breath, teetering between the thrill of anticipation and the fear of the unknown. It was then that the flickering candle flames on the altar danced more vigorously, creating shadows that seemed to move as if they were alive. Who are we to think we can change the world? A voice from the back spoke, laced with uncertainty. It was Thomas, a quiet member of their gathering, his brow furrowed. Aren't we just us? Ah, but here's the truth, Thomas, Mary replied, stepping forward, glowing with unwavering faith. She leaned slightly into the warm light, her presence a calming balm. It's precisely because we are just us that we hold the power to ignite change. Together, we are more than individuals. We are a collective force transformed by love. A ripple of realization sparked among the congregants, igniting a flicker in each heart. Their collective spirit could bear the weight of the world, and it did not diminish their individuality, it magnified it. Let us not forget the covenant we've made, Ruth interjected, drawing focus back to their purpose. She lifted her arms again, inviting all to join her in raising their hands, a collective gesture of commitment. We may face trials, temptations, and fears, but they also pave the way for miracles. Each moment of struggle is an invitation to deepen our faith. Amidst the murmurs of agreement, a young girl, no more than 10, spoke up. But how do we know what to do? Her wide eyes shone with innocence and sincerity, bringing the weight of authenticity to the concern hanging in the air. David exchanged a glance with Mary, then knelt to meet the girl's gaze. We listen. We stay open. God will guide us through our hearts, our dreams, and the gentle nudges we receive along the way. Those words wrapped around them like a warm embrace, each soul feeling the call to pay off their doubts and fears. They weren't just seeking answers. They were becoming co-authors of a vast divine narrative unfolding before them. The church windows glowed brighter, casting a golden hue over the congregation. Those drapes that had fluttered, whispered promises of transformation. They seemed to beckon them outside to the world that needed their light. "Let us make a pact," Ruth proposed, her voice rising to a crescendo filled with passion. "Let us dare to be bold, to step out of our comfort zones. Let us actively seek those in need, love those who feel unlovable, and share our stories far and wide. For each story holds a piece of heaven. Around them, hearts swelled with understanding and agreement. They could stand united against trials. So, hearts pondered what struggles awaited them. Would they stumble in moments of doubt? Ruth glanced at the altar. Our next chapter awaits us, beloveds. Tonight is just the beginning. We are preparing ourselves for the path ahead, grounded in faith. As everyone took a collective breath, suddenly the room filled with a sacred melody, a song of freedom that vibrated through their spirits. Tears flowed freely as the congregation sang, a harmony reflecting heaven's joy. But beneath the surface of faith and unity, a whisper lingered in Mary's heart. Where did this new path lead them? What specific sacrifices were required? Each question hung thick in the air, a divine riddle seeking clarity. Who would be the first to break free from their shadows and step into the light? In the depths of the night, a flicker of hope danced among them, and the journey was indeed just beginning. The atmosphere, once vibrant with the melody of their united voices, slowly transitioned into a hushed reverence as the final notes lingered in the air. A feeling of expectancy hung like a precious thread woven through their hearts, binding them together with the promise of something amazing on the horizon. Ruth stepped forward again, sensing the powerful energy swirling around them. "Beloveds," she began, her voice steady yet tender, "we've committed ourselves to great purpose. But let us not lose sight of the heart of our mission." She pointed to the flickering candles, their soft glow emblematic of the light each person carried within. "Tonight, we kindle not just fire, but passion, empathy, and service. We awaken our senses to the needs of others. In our willingness to be open, we will find the answers ensconced in love." Murmurs of agreement echoed softly, each heart focused on the potential drumming just beneath their skin. Yet the questions still lingered: what sacrifices awaited them? "I have a thought," said Anna, a spirited voice that drew the assembly closer. "What if we shared not just our light, but also our burdens? How can we carry others' weights if we remain alone in our struggles?" Her blue-gray eyes sparkled with sincerity, igniting an awareness that pulsed through the gathering. "That is powerful," remarked David as he absorbed Anna's words. "We serve by being vulnerable. We illuminate the path with honesty. In sharing our trials, we create connections, real bonds that reflect the heart of God. Let us not fear our imperfections," Mary added, a contagious smile warming her face. "Every crack allows light to shine through." Her words wrapped around the room, drawing smiles and a few more tears of joy. The congregation nodded, realizing their growth wasn't just in victories. It was in learning to stand up after falling, in lifting one another in times of distress. As if responding to their collective resolve, the flicker of the candles brightened momentarily. Everyone sensed a stirring in their spirits, an anxious excitement that hinted at the unseen walls about to break. "Do you sense it?" Ruth asked, her eyes gleaming. "This is the moment. Heaven is aligning our hearts with divine purpose. Our discomfort, remember, that is where transformation begins. Let us open ourselves to it." A pregnant pause enveloped the room. It was a silence filled with potential, each soul calculating its own readiness to emerge transformed. What could it mean to embrace this moment fully? Suddenly, the windows rattled gently, a wind whispering through the church a calling, a challenge, or perhaps a hint of the unknown waiting to unveil. "Can you hear it?" Thomas asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I think there is something more for us." The eyes of every member widened, sensing the depth of what lay ahead. Ruth nodded, as though she had been expecting this moment. "Yes, dear friends, something extraordinary awaits. We are being called into a new chapter, not just our stories, but a collective transformation, a movement." With those powerful words, a renewed fire ignited within them, stirring them to rise from their seats, hearts beating in rhythm with divine intent. But as a fog rolled slowly through the room, lighting candles flickered, casting elongated shadows across their faces. An excitement blended with uncertainty danced in the depths of their eyes. Something prophetic was about to unfold. "Let us take a courageous step into the unknown," Ruth urged passionately. "Together, our vulnerability can become our strength." The echo of her call propelled them forward, yet questions lingered. What did this miraculous transformation demand of them? What courageous steps lay ahead, waiting to be taken? As they stepped closer to the light, one truth remained. They had only glimpsed the surface of their journey, and the deeper mysteries were waiting to be revealed. What awaited them around the corner? What glorious changes were just beyond the veil? The stage was set for the grand awakening. Would they answer the call? With hearts pounding and eyes wide, the congregation stood at the threshold of something grand and unseen. The air hummed with anticipation, a divine frequency vibrating through their very beings. Each flicker of the candlelight danced like the excitement lingering just below the surface, brightening their expressions with hope. Ruth raised her hands, the golden light illuminating her face. "Friends, we must ready our hearts for what is to come. We are being summoned beyond our wildest dreams, and this divine invitation does not come without challenges." Her voice, steady and full of warmth, wrapped around them like a blanket on a cold night. As if enacting a silent agreement, the assembly leaned in closer, each one collectively sharing a breath, one of hope, courage, and a willingness to embrace the unknown. The warm glow around them intensified, filling the space with an inviting energy, igniting memories of each shared journey leading to this moment. Ruth continued, her words now imbued with urgency. "Transformation is not a gentle pruning. It is a complete remaking. What familiar comforts will we lay down? What fears must we confront?" A hush fell over them, as if the very walls listened intently, awaiting their response. Anna's voice, soft yet clear, broke through the stillness. "We can't let fear keep us from our purpose. We've been called to be lights, to brighten the world outside this sanctuary with love and faith. No longer can we hide behind our struggles." Her heart poured out, and those around her felt the diffused warmth of her courage, inviting them all to stand firm. David clenched his fists, determination lining his brow. "Then we will stand together. United, we have the chance to bless, to heal, and to shape this moment. Our stories have power, and sharing them brings glory to God." Each word unfolded a sense of collective strength, resonating deep within each member as they wrestled with their individual resolutions to follow the call. Mary, her eyes glistening, nodded vigorously. "Let us not just become lights ourselves, let us guide those around us to find their own light. In our willingness to embrace the holy unease, we can illuminate paths for others who have yet to encounter this radiance." The depth of her convictions wrapped around their spirits, lifting them higher. The atmosphere pulsed and the fog thickened, swirling as a voice whispered gently through the stillness, beckoning them to the altar, the heart of their devotion. Ruth gestured to the sacred space ahead, urging them to step forward together. "Come, let us lay ourselves bare, believing Goddess love will meet us even as we push past our limits." As they moved, Memories flashed through their minds, both the blessings and the burdens that had shaped them. Each step echoed with the weight of their histories and the promise of what lay ahead. But then, as they gathered closely at the altar, silence draped over them once more. A serene moment wrapped in the presence of the holy drew their hearts toward prayer. They clasped each other's hands, an unbreakable chain of faith binding them tight. "I believe something miraculous is unfolding," whispered Thomas, his voice trembling with awe. "But what does God desire to reveal in this sacred moment?" The hushed congregation murmured in reverence, reflecting on the mystery that lingered just out of reach. As they closed their eyes, hearts open wide, an electrifying sensation coursed through the group. They felt the stirrings of the Holy Spirit, a deep, passionate whisper igniting a flame within. Together, they stood poised at the brink of revelation. What truth would break through? What divine insights awaited them in their vulnerability and open hearts? As they awaited the unfolding of this divine encounter, one final question lingered in the air, saturating the atmosphere with both fear and excitement. Was this just the beginning of something life-changing? What was it they would witness next? The candlelight flickered warmly, casting gentle shadows that danced across the altar as the congregation remained united in quiet anticipation. With closed eyes and hands tightly clasped, they felt the pulse of the Spirit surrounding them, an electric current of love that spurred them onward. Ruth breathed deeply, feeling each soul connected in this sacred space, and she silently prayed, trusting that God was about to reveal something remarkable. In that profound, hushed moment, a soft breeze swept through the room, stirring their hair and sending a whisper of heavenly breath among the gathered. It was as if the very atmosphere hummed with potential, invigorating their spirits. A warmth spread through their hearts, igniting an unshakable hope that they were partaking in a moment far greater than themselves. As if responding to their collective yearning, a light began to emerge at the center of the altar, growing brighter with every heartbeat. The congregation held their breath, their hearts becoming one in a prayerful rhythm. Thomas opened his eyes, sensing an urgency rising within him. "Look," he exclaimed, pointing toward the radiant glow. A gentle voice echoed softly above them. "My beloved, you have heard the call. In your vulnerability lies your power." They looked up, awe-filled as the light enveloped them in a divine embrace. Each individual's struggles, fears, and victories glowed in radiant detail before their minds' eyes, weaving a tapestry of experience colored with both pain and grace. Images flashed through their minds, moments of doubt turned into faith, despair transformed into hope. As they witnessed their journeys interlinked like threads in a greater design, they began to see with clarity. What we experienced mattered. Mary spoke, her voice thick with emotion. Every tear shed, every prayer uttered, every laugh shared, they were seeds planted in faith. The voice returned, melodic and soothing. "These are not just your stories, but the stories of those around you. Rise and shine, for you carry the light of my love." With that declaration, the brilliant light swirled around them, igniting new flames of purpose within each heart, fueling their commitment. Ruth felt her strength renewed, her voice a powerful beacon in the damp air. "We've been summoned to bring forth this light into the world. We can bear witness to the transformative power that flows through us. Together, we walk as chosen ones." The energy shifted. They were no longer simply a congregation, but a movement, a family devoted to spreading his love. They were called to be catalysts of change, each entrusted with the weight and glory of their testimonies. Suddenly, David was seized by urgency, emotions spilling over. What if we fear being transparent? What if we stumble before those who are lost? The Lord does not call the equipped. The voice resonated again, grounding their fears. He equips the called. Your authenticity will ring louder than eloquent words. Shine your light, and others will see the way. The collective resolve swelled, hearts beating stronger, pulses synchronized. There was a shared commitment to step forward, to bear witness, and to illuminate paths for those wandering in darkness. Yet, as they prepared to embrace this calling, a lingering question hovered tantalizingly in the air, like a sacred promise waiting to be fulfilled. What would the world look like when they moved from this place, courageous and emboldened? As the light began to fade slowly, leaving a warm afterglow in their hearts, Ruth looked into the eyes of her friends, knowing this was only the beginning. "May our journey lead us to places we've never imagined," she said, "and may we discover the hidden truths of our destinies in that charged stillness." They all sensed the unfolding story before them, a divine adventure awaiting their response. What destinations lay ahead? What challenges would they brave together in their quest to bear witness to the light? The soft glow of the candles dimmed as the otherworldly light retreated, leaving behind a serene luminescence that gently wrapped around the congregation like a warm blanket. Ruth felt her heart racing, an undeniable mixture of excitement and uncertainty coursing through her veins. They had been promised a journey, yet the magnitude of their task loomed large before them. "What next?" whispered Thomas, his eyes bright with curiosity and just a hint of fear. Ruth opened her mouth to reply, but the gentle voice washed over them once more, clear and melodic. "The wind carries forth my purpose. As you step outside these walls, you will be met by the ripple of change. Embrace it." The others exchanged glances, excitement mingling with trepidation. What could this mean? What ripples would their light create in the vast sea of the world beyond? Mary took a deep breath, looking around at her friends. What if we start small? Maybe share our stories with those nearest to us? If we speak truthfully, others may see and feel the light within us. Nods of agreement resonated throughout the group. The sharing of their truths could be the flicker that ignites a wider flame. Yet, a feeling of hesitation clung to David. But what if we fall short? What if our words stumble or get lost in translation? The beauty of authenticity, the voice replied, is that it doesn't have to be perfect. A small light can guide the way, even in the darkest night. Let your hearts speak. They're the truest vessels of my love. Ruth felt the weight of the words settle around her, a comforting reassurance. They were called not just to speak, but to shine. The struggles ahead were real, but so was their shared strength. Together, they could weather any storm. As the evening wore on, sparks of inspiration lit their conversations. They began to share their individual experiences, recounting moments of doubt and transitions that had shaped their faith. Each story, like a stone dropped into the murky waters, sent ripples of hope reflecting around them. What if we organized a gathering? Thomas proposed, his excitement building. A safe space for others to share their stories. 2, we can invite the community, creating a web of connection. Brilliant, cheered Mary. It doesn't have to be grand. It can start in our homes, our community center. Just a sharing and listening. A surge of affirmation filled the room as they gathered closer, hands still linked, a circle of solidarity. They understood that this was not merely an idea. It was a sacred mission birthed in divine love. Yet, as a hush fell over them again, an unspoken apprehension hung in the air. What if they encountered resistance? What if their light was challenged? "Fear not, for I am with you," the voice reassured them, piercing through doubts like a beacon. "You carry the balm for the broken. With each step taken in courage, my presence will guide you. Together, you will embody my message." At that moment, the candles flickered wildly, responding to the surge of spiritual fervor. As they each clasped hands tighter, their hearts began to synchronize once again, creating a symphony of hope and determination. The path ahead was being paved in prayer and boldness. They could feel an invitation to rise, to become more than they ever dreamed possible. As they prepared to disperse into the world, Ruth's spirit felt light. She understood this was the beginning of something monumental. Yet even as they stepped toward their unfolding destiny, a question lingered like a fragrant bloom in the air. What trials would come that would test their faith and challenge their fellowship? Determined, They stepped from the sacred space into the unknown, ready to share the light they had received. As they walked, their hearts beating as one, only the unfolding adventure awaited them. What transformative encounters awaited in the hearts of those they'd meet? Dawn broke over Street Oswald S. The village now painted in hues of gold and soft pastel shades. The sky, once heavy with uncertainty, welcomed a new day, inviting the community into a world vibrating with hope. Mary emerged from their home, eyes glimmering, heart brimming with the divine energy that had enveloped them the night before. She felt the fragile but unwavering thread of faith connecting her to each member of their congregation. Today was not just another day. This was the day to step boldly into their purpose. David stood at the threshold of their door, uncertainty still flickering in his gaze, but the warmth radiating from Mary tugged him closer to hope. "Let us do it together," he said, his voice thick with resolve. The tension of the past melted away as they walked down the cobblestone streets side by side, the road ahead illuminated by a shared vision. As they reached the village square, they were welcomed by a throng of familiar faces, each resonating with an energy that mirrored their own. Laughter and whispers of excitement danced in the air as villagers prepared for the gathering. It felt as if every person carried a flame within them, ready to ignite the world with love. "Welcome, dear friends," Ruth called out, her presence commanding yet warm. "Today, we share our stories, our hopes, our triumphs. Let us weave together a tapestry of faith that showcases the infinite possibilities when we stand united." The villagers gathered closer, hearts aligning. Each face reflected a mixture of anticipation and apprehension, yet their hands gripped each other tightly, creating a powerful bridge linking their spirits. One by one, stories began to unfurl like blossoming petals. An elderly man recalling how he found healing in community. A single mother recounting moments of despair transformed into grace, and a young couple sharing their struggles with faith that had brought them closer together. Tears flowed freely as each narrative painted the beauty of struggle, and the room vibrated with collective understanding. Laughter echoed alongside the relief of burdens being shared, and with each testimony, doubt began to evaporate like morning mist under the sun. Hope pulsed through them, each story intertwining, binding their spirits together. As David stepped up to share, his heart raced with vulnerability. "I was once a man skeptical of faith," he admitted, "but seeing the light flicker in each of you has transformed my very essence. It has made me seek the truth, and now I stand here, committed to this divine calling." The crowd erupted in applause. His honesty moved them, breaking barriers of doubt and resistance. Mary's heart swelled with love for her husband, and in that moment, she realized that both strength and sweetness could flourish in vulnerability. "Together, we are architects of change," she echoed, her voice rising with fervency. "Emissaries of light who carry forth hope into every corner of our lives. We are the 144,000 chosen. We are the spark that ignites the fire." The villagers raised their voices, their songs soaring into the morning air, harmonizing together in faith and strength. Yet as their hearts soared, Mary felt a gentle whisper within her, a reminder of their covenant to step outside their comfort zone. What about the world beyond our village? She wondered. Will we have the courage to venture beyond familiar arms? In the following days, their resolve deepened. They organized community outreach, connecting with those in need, and held spaces for sharing stories, fostering connections that went beyond borders. They discovered a community hungry for love, and each gathering pulsed with the grace that preceded their courageous leaps. But every journey faces trials. Whispers of skepticism returned as some villagers hesitated, unsure of the newfound faith swirling in St. Oswald's. Rumors flitted on the winds, stoking doubt and fear. "Our light is being tested," Ruth acknowledged, gathering the congregation. "These storms will come, but our love will weather them. Together, we embody his message of hope. Let's rise, stronger, With hands clasped and hearts aglow, they rallied together, casting aside fear. Walks of faith led them deeper into the challenges, and in transformative moments, they showcased compassion to those who doubted, love to those who questioned, and unity in the face of division. One evening, as they stood against the backdrop of a glowing sunset, the congregation gazed outward. "We have traveled far, but the road ahead awaits," Mary said, her voice infused with warm affirmation. Together, we VE stepped into our destiny. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting radiant beams across the sky, they felt the divine presence surrounding them, a gentle reminder that their journey was just beginning. And so, the hymn of their hearts sang a simple truth, echoing in harmony with the universe. They were called, transformed, and forever changed, carrying forth their light into a waiting world. This was the moment, the beautiful unfolding of a divine calling. They had answered the call, and now they walked into the sunlit promise of their purpose, hand in hand, heart to heart. Faith is a journey, dear family. Embrace it. If you felt this divine shift too, you need to subscribe now. Don't miss the next exclusive faith stories that will ignite your spirit. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep this fire alive. Comment below about your own journeys of transformation and what this ending means to you. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation of faith. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second. Let's spark a movement together.